Welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and I made a video a few months back talking about how I might not buy any new Magic cards, and I went back and forth on it quite a bit. I have actually bought a few new Magic cards, and in this video I'll be talking about that. And of course, in particular, be talking about the Magic cards that I will be grabbing for myself from Bloomborough, the newest set to come out. Of course, this issue I first brought up with Modern Horizons 3, mostly because there was just so much stuff in there that I just was overwhelmed by it. I just didn't want to go out and buy everything that was a strict upgrade or power creep or whatever. The reason I finally decided to break with that and actually purchase a few cards is because what I thought was the best card from the set actually wasn't very expensive, and a lot of people were going after it. And that was Flare of Fortitude. This is, in my opinion, one of the best commander cards from the entire set, maybe the best. And I was looking at the prices, and funny enough, it was about, I think, $7 or $8 when I grabbed a couple copies. It's even lower than that now. It's like a $5 card, I guess, depending on where you're from. I can't believe how cheap this card is. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it before, 2 white instant. You may sacrifice a non-token white creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Until end of turn, your life total can't change, and permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. And those two scenarios are both different. So for me, this is, I have to save my board from getting destroyed or whatever, but also I can save my life from ending because someone's about to cast a giant Exsanguinate or Craterhoof Behemoth or shoot me with a Aetherflux Reservoir. Lots of popular win cons in the format, of course. And this is a way that you can do it with for free, which to me is the most important thing. Again, the counterspell, obviously that as well is a great thing to be able to do for free, but this is really a fantastic thing to be able to do in a pinch when you're about to lose the game, right? And for that reason, it is the best in the cycle, and even more so, it perfectly fit in a couple of my decks. And in fact, there are now 3 decks that this so perfectly fits in. My Denic deck, obviously it's a white deck, and also it's a deck where I want to be sacrificing my creatures. So that's an easy one. And I have lots of non-token creatures lying around. My Shanna deck, again, is a white deck where I actually want to be sacrificing. Not so much want to, but very easily. It's built around the theme of sacrificing my own creatures, so it's a slam dunk there. And I just put my AO deck together in paper, and wouldn't you know it, I want to be sacrificing my commander. Some other creatures as well, but it's very easy for me to use this, and I can use it just to sacrifice my commander if I really want to. I mean, on top of what this card, and obviously the rest of the cycle as well, what they're doing, it is actually a free sack outlet as well. So in any deck where you're sacrificing stuff, it's extra good. I can't believe this card is as cheap as it is. We then got Assassin's Creed, and I really like Smoke Bomb a lot. And I know a lot of people have poo-pooed on this set a little bit because every single card has some dude in a cape or in a hood in the art. And I mean, okay, but I will say these cards do very easily fit into the game of Magic. I mean, it's a Smoke Bomb, and it's a dude running with a assassin outfit on. It's very much does fit in the game of Magic, I think. And I just love this card. It's so neat. 3 mana artifact with flash. All creatures have Shroud. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Smoke Bomb. When you do, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. So this is, there's a lot of neat ways to use this. I absolutely wanted this for my Eddie deck because that deck, it is a colorless option to protect my stuff. First of all, protect my creatures, my commander. It is also, you know, you can get into some shenanigans where my opponent wants to target their stuff. As I've said, this is a great card against a Nadu deck, right? You just throw it down on their upkeep and then they can't go off, as it were. So it does work there as well. That's why I actually really like this card a lot. But also, the part about not being blocked does work in my deck as well, because I do want to be attacking with it. So really great fit in that deck, so I did grab a copy for that. And I also grabbed Hunter's Bow from Assassin's Creed. And again, if you didn't know this was an Assassin's Creed set, you would never be able to tell. It's just a dude with a bow, right? It's just called Hunter's Bow. It very much fits in the game of Magic, and it is such a slam dunk in my Questing Beast deck. I could not resist. I had to get it. 1 and a green artifact equipment with equip 1. When Hunter's Bow enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. And I always love equipment that automatically attach to stuff because I really don't like paying equip costs. It can be very mana intensive, although the equip here is only one. That creature deals damage equal to its power to up to one target creature you don't control. And of course, that's what I'm doing in my deck. My Questing Beast deck is very much a punching or fighting effect. It's mostly punching effects. There's not actually a lot of fight effects in there anymore because we have so many punching effects now, which this is, right? My commander is just dealing the damage, is not taking any damage. And of course, because my commander has Death Touch and I have a few other creatures in there as well with Death Touch, this just becomes kill a creature, right? So this enters the battlefield and I just destroy target creature essentially. And then also, equipped creature has Reach and Ward 2. And wouldn't you know it, my commander already has a whole bunch of abilities. These are two that it doesn't have. So now on top of the Death Touch, Vigilance, and Haste, I will have Reach so I can block those flying creatures and also Ward 2. So just a phenomenal fit in that deck. That's where I'm at, right? I'm at the point now where I only grab the cards that are just perfect fits in my specific decks. And I am doing the same with Bloomburrow. Calamity of Cinders is an absolute slam dunk. And I mean, this card literally seems like it was made for my Lulu deck because, of course, my Lulu and Guild Artisan deck is, of course, a tapping theme. I mean, if you have a Lulu deck that happens to be, have a red background, this is just a slam dunk because, of course, any Convoke mechanic will work. This, of course, has Convoke and deals 6 damage to each untapped creature. So in your Lulu deck, you can very easily tap down all your creatures to cast this, or obviously in my Lulu deck, and probably a lot of others as well, you have other ways to tap down your creatures. And then, of course, on your end step, your commander triggers and then untaps all your creatures. So this very much has almost no downside in it at all. And also the Convoke, I'm tapping down my creatures is an upside. I mean, it's just the perfect card for my Lulu deck. It's going in there for sure. Also, I think I got to grab a copy of Fountain Port. I don't know how expensive this is going to be. It looks like one of those cards that you could just very easily put in almost any deck. I made the comparisons to Trading Post. It feels like a very Trading Posty type of card. It's doing a lot on a colorless land, so of course it can fit in any deck. I know people will look at this and think it kind of fits in the token theme. Yeah, but it makes tokens, so it does fit in the token theme, without a doubt. So of course this one is just perfect for my Benny Brax deck because, of course, that's a token theme. I'm making tokens, so I can sacrifice any of my tokens to draw a card, right? Then I can also use the other two abilities to create tokens, right? Pay 3 and tap, pay 1 life, create a 1/1 blue fish creature token. And I can do that to get the card draw off my commander, right? So before the end step on anyone's turn, I can create that fish token if I just want to get the card draw off my commander. Also, pay 4 and tap to create a treasure token, which is also creating a token, which will also work if I happen to have more mana open. So real easy slot into that deck. And the other card that I am absolutely going to get from this set is Artist's Talent. 1 in a red, and it is an enchantment class. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw cards. So, of course, this is going in my Bralin deck. And, I don't need more ways to discard in that deck. Obviously, I got lots already. So, anytime they come up with a new red card that's discarding, it's not like I'm going to throw it in that deck. However, 2 in a red to level 2 and non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And I would say that is definitely a more non-creature deck. I have not a ton of creatures in that deck. But the main reason why I've decided to get this for my Bralin deck is the level 3, which says if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. So, wow, what a perfect fit in that deck, right? So now, not only am I getting the discard trigger off of this, but also when I discard a card, it's going to deal 3 damage to each of my opponents. Again, this kind of feels like it was almost made for my Bralin deck, so definitely going to get it. That's about it for the for sures that I'm going to be grabbing. I also like Sunspine Links, though. I just like effects like this a lot. And again, this is one that I might put in my Bralin deck, maybe. So 2 red, Elemental Cat, 5/4. Players can't gain life, which is good in any deck. Like I said in the review of this set, where you are relying on dealing lots of damage, as I am in my Bralin deck, to my opponents. If they're gaining a ton of life, it's going to make my life real difficult. And damage can't be prevented also is going to fit there really, really nicely. That's why it's a good fit in my Bralin deck, because I've actually ran into the situation before where my opponent has a damage prevention effect in play, and I just can't do anything, right? My Browlin is basically shut off. And then also, when Sunspine Link enters the battlefield, it deals damage to each player equal to the number of non-basic lands that player controls. So that Price of Progress effect, and I think I might even have Price of Progress in the deck. I'm doing the non-combat damage thing, right? That is a theme in the deck, the non-combat damage theme. And of course, this is a great non-combat damage effect that's going to, again, go after my opponent's life total. It's what I want to be doing in that deck. So I might grab this for my Browlin deck. This one's a maybe. Another maybe is Starfall Invocation. This is a really great board wipe, and I think it's going to be a popular one in the format. I don't know exactly what deck I'm going to get this for, but I might get it for maybe one deck. I might buy one copy of this and put it in one of my many white decks. 3 white sorcery, gift a card. So of course you're going to give one of your opponents a card. Let them draw a card. Destroy all creatures. If you let your opponent draw a card, return a creature card put into your graveyard this way to the battlefield under your control. And, you know, I think this is particularly good if you have a commander with an ETB. That's the one thing I didn't mention in that video that I should have. If your commander has a great ETB, this is an absolute slam dunk in your deck, right? Because, of course, it's actually going to go to the graveyard and then come back. You're not just saving it like you would with a Divine Reckoning. It's actually dying and it's coming back. So, oh, geez, again, I guess this goes in my AO deck because I want my commander to be not an ETV, but I want my commander to be dying. So, yeah, there you go. Slam dunk in that deck. I will have to get a copy of this for my AO deck because I will destroy my commander and then I will return it to play. Yeah, got to put it in there for sure. This is actually a great board wipe if you have a commander that you want to be dying or if you have a commander that has an ETB, for sure. I might grab Dream, Do, Entrancer. I kind of like this card, as I say all the time. You know, any card that I can use on my opponents or I can use on myself. I really like that in a commander game. So 2 blue and a green, Frog Wizard, 3/4 reach. When Dream, Do, Entrancer enters, tap up to one target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. So that's what you want to be doing on your opponent's creatures, obviously. If you control that creature, though, you get to draw 2 cards. So I have a blue-green deck. It is my Tishana deck. That is a little bit of a blinking, you know, token copy creating. So obviously a creature with a great ETB like this does fit really nicely in that deck. And I can have this guy come in, tap down my opponent's Blightsteel Colossus for 3 turns. Or I can have this guy come in, put 3 stun counters on my Wood Elves that I don't really care if it's tapped. And then I get to draw 2 cards, right? So it's kind of a neat fit in there. I'll give it some consideration for sure. If it's kind of expensive, you know, again, for me, that's a big decider for me now. When I'm looking at some of these cards that are sort of maybes for me, it's like, oh, it's a $10 card. Not worth it, right? I actually sometimes will like if a card's really, really expensive. That's why I got Flare Fortitude, because it wasn't expensive. If something's really expensive, okay, well, that makes up my mind. I'm not going to waste my time. I don't need it that badly. If a card was like an absolute slam dunk in my deck and it was like a $20 card, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I will splurge. But for something like this, it's okay in my Tishana deck. So if it's inexpensive, then I'll probably grab a copy. Same goes for Octomancer. This actually, again, because I'm creating token copies of creatures in that deck, is a pretty good fit. And if it's not that expensive, I might grab a copy. So 3 blue and a green, Frog Druid, 3/3, gift an octopus. So I'm going to give my opponent an 8/8 octopus, but of course I'm going to get one as well. But the more important part is at the beginning of each end step, create a token that's a copy of target creature token that entered the battlefield this turn. That's why you're getting an octopus as well, obviously. But I'm creating token copies of my creatures, and I'm not just doing it on my turn, I'm doing it on my opponent's turns as well, right? And this does include that. So if I Cackling Counterpart on my opponent's turn, let's say I Cackling Counterpart my Dream, Do, Entrancer on my opponent's turn, draw 2 cards, I've now created a creature token on their turn, and at the beginning of my end step, I can create a token that's a copy of target creature that entered the battlefield this turn. So I am now going to create another token copy, right? That's why it works in that deck. It's a maybe. Again, this is definitely a maybe for me. I could grab it or I could not. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world if I don't. The last card I am considering, and this is certainly one that is a maybe for possibly a couple of my decks. I do have a lot of white decks. Perge Protection, 4 white instant. gift an extra turn. So, of course, I'm giving an opponent an extra turn. By the way, if you want to see me talk about these cards at length, I did my review of the set already, and a lot of them I already talked about. Create 4 2/2 blue bird creature tokens with flying. So because I'm creating tokens, it does kind of work in my Benny Brax deck, but it kind of doesn't. And I will explain why. If the gift was promised, all permanents you control phase out, and until your next turn, your life total can't change, and you gain protection from everything, exile Perge Protection. So, of course, it's essentially a Teferi's protection that also creates those bird tokens. The reason why it works in my Benny Brax deck is, of course, it's creating birds. But if I use the gift, of course, it doesn't work because my Benny Brax will be phased out. It's one of the downsides of phasing. It is a great way to protect your stuff, but you have to keep in mind, if you phase out your commander, a lot of times you'll be shutting off whatever your deck is doing, right? So sometimes phasing out your commander can be bad. That's why I avoid phase out effects in my Benny Brax deck, because now if I'm creating tokens, okay, well, my commander's phased out, so I don't get the card draw on everyone's end step, right? So that's why it can actually kind of be a bad thing. However, it obviously can be great in certain situations, and I also can just 6 mana instant speed create those bird tokens without the phasing part and without the gift, get the draw off my commander, and that's also a decent effect. It's a maybe for me. Again, this is another one that, if it's like Flare of Fortitude and only costs like $5, I'll probably grab one. If it's like $40, I won't. Who knows? I guess we'll find out. I'm going to grab these ones, some of these at least, from Bloomborough as well. Again, there's 3 here that I think are probably absolute slam dunks in my decks that I will grab, and a few others that are maybes for me. We'll see if I actually grab them or not. You guys let me know what are the cards you're grabbing for your decks from Bloomborough. That is it for today, though, and thanks for tuning in.